are places of honor in the synagogues and at banquets. They are the ones who keep widows out of their homes and to show off, they say long prayers. They will be judged most harshly. Jesus sat across from the collection box or the temple treasury and observed how the crowd gave their money. Many rich people were throwing in lots of money, but one poor widow came forward and put in 2 small copper coins worth about a penny. Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I assure you that this poor widow has put in more than everyone who's been putting money into the treasury. All of them are giving out of their spare change, but she, from her hopeless poverty, has given everything she had, even what she needed to live on. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Let us pray. Almighty God, may the words of my mouth and indeed the meditation of all of our hearts be acceptable to you, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Watch out, Jesus says. Watch out for those people who like to stand up in front of the worship assembly wearing long robes and saying long prayers. Awesome. Make no mistake, Jesus is telling you to beware of me. I just read you this morning that Jesus gave to watch out for those religious leaders who like to wear long robes and stand up and say long prayers. This passage comes that comes today, this passage that I read today, and that has come up in the lectionary, it cuts at me especially this week. So 2 Mondays ago, most of you know that I was honored to be asked to give the Christian prayer at Beth Israel following the terrible shooting in Pittsburgh. It was nerve-wracking. I mean, I was terrified. There's some things you just can't wing, right? You can't just make it up as you go. And so I spent most of the night, because they called the night before and asked if I would do it. And so I said, of course I will. And then I spent most of the night writing the prayer. And so I said it on Monday morning, and I got a lot of compliments about it. I did. And people have emailed me and they've asked for copies of the prayer. And I was on the radio this past Tuesday because of it. And people have shared it, and people have passed it along. And I'm not gonna lie to you. It feels really good. It feels good. It does. And not in the humble way, right? Like I'm trying to be humble about it. People said, I was just happy that something I said could mean something to somebody. I mean that, but let's be real. I like the attention. It's good. And when you start getting that attention, you start to crave it. I start to crave it a little bit. And this is just from the absolute least amount of celebrity that a human being can get. I mean, the absolute least amount. And I crave it, I love it. Well, Jesus cuts through all this bull completely. He says, beware of people like this. Beware. He is well aware of humanity's tendency to crave power and adulation and recognition. It becomes all-consuming. Beware the scribes, he says, who are the legal experts. Scribes in this era of Jewish history are kind of a combination of lawyer and theology professors. They are both religious and legal persons of importance. Their responsibility is to interpret the law, that is biblical law, in order to protect the powerless, the widows, the orphans, the immigrants, etc. And some of them take that responsibility very, very seriously. A couple of weeks ago, in fact, last week, we read where a scribe came up to Jesus and asked him, what is the most important commandment? Because he wanted to know. But others focus more on how they can profit from their position. Focus on how important they are. They pray so everyone can see how nicely they pray, how eloquent they are. Ouch for me. How smart they are, how holy they are. And in the meantime, while everyone is bragging on them, they use legal and religious loopholes to cheat the people they're supposed to be protecting. Let's not make a mistake in thinking this is an ancient Jewish scribe problem. How many church leaders today fall into the same trap? Pastors and priests who seem so holy and so important, but who end up abusing their authority, whether it's financially or sexually or otherwise, who devour the very ones they're supposed to be shepherding. Just this week, we've had an election. And it warmed this old political science major's heart to see that this was the highest participatory midterm election in American history. We're privileged to be able to choose our own leaders. But how many of those who seek office and gain office from either party, because this is not a partisan issue either, will forget that they work for the people, who will use fear and corruption to gain or stay in power, all the while standing in front of the assembly proclaiming patriotism and duty while they devour the weakest in society. Not everyone. Of course not everyone. There are so many who are responsible, who do what they're supposed to do, who take their position seriously, but just a little bit of power begins to corrupt. Just a little bit of responsibility gives us the opportunity to use that responsibility badly. Jesus makes us uncomfortable because, see, he sees us for who we really are. He sees that the best of us are susceptible to the desire for importance, for ill-gotten wealth, for the temptation to seem good, to look good, to have people think you're good rather than to actually do good. And here's where things get especially dicey for people like me. If you've been given authority, any amount of authority to take care of people, to help, to build up, and you misuse that, you are judged the most harshly. To whom much has been given, much is required. And much will be judged, apparently. So Jesus cuts right to the heart of our temptations and our failures. But he also sees something else. As soon as he's done talking to the people and his disciples about these religious leaders with long robes and say long prayers, he's sitting outside of the temple, right across from the collection box where people come and they pay their temple tax. See, everyone who is part of the Jewish faith at this point, they are supposed to come and pay a tax to the temple out of what they have. And of course, there are those who are fabulously wealthy. Most of the times it's these scribes who have devoured widows and orphans' homes. And they give generously, it looks like. And of course, it's not really hurting them because they have plenty that they're giving. And it looks, and people are so excited about what they give, but he sees this one woman, this widow, who has nothing. One of the very widows that the scribes have cheated. And she comes to the temple and she only has a few copper coins. It says, worth about a penny. And she gives what she has. No one else sees her. Why would they? What she gives, world polished brass. No one else notices. She's not a big donor. She's not the kind of person that anyone important would cozy up to. But Jesus sees her. Jesus notices her. And he commends her. Because just as last week he told the one scribe that the most important commandment is to love God with everything you have, this woman has done just that. She has shown love with everything, literally everything that she has. All the legal experts gave just exactly what they were supposed to give. Just the exact percentage, just the exact amount. They could dump a large sum of money in the plate, so to speak, and everyone noticed. But they kind of wouldn't. Because they had enough, more than enough. But she gave everything she had. And see, that's what Jesus desires from us. To dedicate our lives to the one who, in this story, will shortly do the same for us. To give his entire being for our liberation, for our freedom, for our salvation. But something else is going on here too. Jesus commends the woman, but he's also annoyed. He's angry. Not at her. But he says she has given out of her hopeless poverty. And she's praised, but in pointing out her poverty, Jesus is also pointing out that she should not have to do this. These religious scholars should have noticed her long before now. They should have made sure that she was taken care of instead of devouring her home, instead of cheating her out of what she had. They should have made sure that these 2 pennies weren't all that she had left. Jesus indicts the whole system that praises those who give just a little bit of their wealth while ignoring those who go hungry and require them to give everything that they have. And he calls us to build a different kind of world, a different kind of faith. She gives everything she has, but she gives it to a system that doesn't deserve what she has to give. Her money will just go to the support of the very scribes who have put her in this position. It is a good thing to give. It forms us into the kind of people that God calls us to be generous people, to be outward thinking. But as the church, we are also called to build congregations, denominations, and structures that deserve to be given to. Ones that feed the hungry and lift burdens from the poor, that work for justice and equity, that help everyone see and know the gracious love of God through Jesus Christ. And all the long roads and all the long prayers in the world, they don't do that. But when we all have hearts and lives focused on God, on giving our whole selves over to God and to the love of our neighbors, we receive and give away the greatest gift. The knowledge and the acceptance that none of this is about us. It's about the God who has loved us so much that God sacrificed everything for us. And we get back so much more than we give away. Because we give away everything. Our whole selves, our money, our time, our possessions, but we receive God in return. In the name of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.